Electric vehicle charging stations. Do they have to suck?
I mean, they're usually located in some obscure, out-of-the-way spot that's difficult to find, or they're floating out in the middle of some open parking lot at the mall like this one. Once you eventually get here, it's all very underwhelming. Places like this lack any distinguishing characteristics. It's just some, futuristic-looking kiosk sprouting from the ground next to a parking space. To top it all off, with public chargers, you're taking a gamble on whether or not the charger will work in the first place.
For now, visiting a gas station is just more predictable experience. While your average gas station is not exactly a destination or a pinnacle of design excellence, the form of the gas station and what goes with it has developed for decades. While they're not all great, there have been a few pretty good ones over the years.
Either way, it seems that electric vehicles are the future, and charging our cars in spaces like this will be more and more a part of our everyday lives.
There are now more than 3 million EVs on the road and over 130,000 public chargers across the United States, and it's increasing at a rate of 60% per year.
So the question remains, do these spots have to suck? I don't think so. And in fact, the successful conversion of automobiles to electricity will to some degree depend on getting this part of the ownership experience right.
Not only do charging stations need to be safe, practical, and efficient, they need to be at places that us humans want to be, or at least tolerable for the length of time that it takes to charge a battery. And wouldn't it be great if these spaces actually contributed to the built environment at large, even beyond their just practical use?
So let's discuss what goes into EV charging stations, and let's see what's possible for sad places like this to be, well, a little less sad.
First off, there are 3 types of technologies used in EV charging stations: Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3. Level 2 and 3 are probably the ones that we're talking about here. Level 1 is a charging using a 120-volt standard outlet, and it might take a day to charge an electric vehicle. Level 2 uses a 240-volt outlet and can charge an electric vehicle in about 4 to 8 hours. Level 3, though, is known as DC fast charging. It uses high-voltage DC connection and can charge a car in 30 minutes or less. So level 3s are the kind of places that you might stop on a long road trip or while you're out to keep things juiced up a little bit, and they require a larger footprint and more complex infrastructure due to those higher power requirements. But while their needs are more robust, it's not quite as spatially intensive as, say, a gas station, which requires large tanks underground to store the fuel and then pumps to distribute it. So gas station design is a bit more centralized by nature to keep things compact around these tanks. The centralization means that you can create a single canopy to protect customers who are usually waiting outside next to their cars, or for the attendants moving around them. They also have quicker turnover, meaning that they can serve more people while allowing cars to just pass through, and this is different than EV charging, which tends to be more like a parking lot.
But while traditional gas stations look pretty standard to us today, they've actually changed a lot over the years. They too were once just utilitarian and machine-focused enterprises, before it became obvious to us what other kinds of human considerations should be lumped with them.
There's a word that architects use to describe a repeatable design solution that repeats this common set of elements around a shared purpose. It's called a building type or typology. A gas station is a building type. You can identify it from its common elements: the canopy, the pumps, the small accessory building, and the large sign. These are packaged together as a common solution to a set of known problems, and type is a powerful concept for architecture. Artist Ed Ruscha did a beautiful study of gas station types through photography and painting, which helped establish their role in the public imagination. Anyway, when you have a known type, architects like to play with the elements that go into that type. Like, what if the building and the canopy were the same thing? Or how might a canopy be constructed in a unique way?
EV charging doesn't really have a building type yet that has emerged, and the distributed nature of its organization versus maybe the compactness of a traditional gas station means that it likely won't yield the same level of constant elements as a gas station has.
Almost every part of the EV experience is different. For instance, your GPS guides you to the station. You're not just looking for a sign along the highway. Even paying isn't a cash transaction requiring an attendant. It's usually handled in an app, so pairing them with convenience stores isn't such a natural fit. In these ways, the EV station is a new problem to solve with unique opportunities. But just because it doesn't require the same common and collective design strategies doesn't mean that they can't contribute positively to the built environment. An element that does carry over between both gas stations and with some EV charging locations is the shading canopy. For instance, a number of Tesla superchargers have a canopy. These tend to be steel structures with bright white lighting. They might also support some solar panels on their triangular-shaped supports. This design, though, is pretty sterile and clinical, and I'm assuming that's to go with the minimal futurist aesthetic of the brand. Since canopies have been part of gas stations all along, there are tons of architectural experiments here, from folded steel ones to elegant concrete curves which push the boundaries of structural design and the material properties, to dynamic shapes evoking the speed of the road.
That said, I don't think that the promise of EV charging stations lies in making more aesthetically pleasing or even architecturally daring canopies, or at least it doesn't lie primarily there.
There's an organization called Electric Autonomy, which ran a competition for architects to imagine what an EV station of the future might be like. They received 100 entries from around the world. Many of the winners include a canopy that expresses different sensibilities, though, than the Tesla example, with more texture, variety of materials, warmer lighting, and so on. They also pair them with landscape designs and activities that contribute to the overall health and well-being of people and the environment.
One thing I noticed about the winners was that they provide a sense of place. They're not made of branded, sterile, white metal or plastic panels, but maybe materials like wood. These canopies welcome people, and the structure contributes to its surroundings beyond just solving the problem of charging up a car.
In one design, a cascading set of canopies becomes a place for people to climb and explore. These designs integrate with the landscape elements that connect with the building with its surroundings. Many of these also create an interior zone with leisure activities and places to interact with other people. They may also connect with walking or hiking trails.
Building, parking, landscape, they're all considered together and brought into close proximity.
Some of the more adventurous examples try and make some of the intangible aspects of electrification seem a little bit more tangible and legible. For instance, one calculated the area of solar panels that would be needed to have a direct relationship with the power that's generated and consumed. They turned that into a large circular trail. While this example might not be what we want to see in the world exactly, the proposal prompts us to think differently about the status quo. And not all architectural speculations about a better relationship between EVs and buildings are focused along the highways. Some architects like Louis Cermaki Lewis have imagined new kinds of buildings in a more urban environment that would integrate EVs throughout the building. This would be made possible since they don't give off any emissions. Park Tower envisions a drive-up skyscraper, intertwining a parking garage with a mixed-use sequence of programs. There's a double helix of driving ramps and parking areas that intertwines with a common set of mixed programs like hotel, residential, and office. There's always a sandwich of spaces of parking and then other activities. They argue that the suburban patterns are thus coupled with an urban building type and footprint. The time-consuming suburban commute is transformed into a seductive urban ascent, complete with panoramic views. Speaking of unique locations, Rivian, the EV adventure vehicle company, is questioning how their EV charging infrastructure might also be more carefully considered. This begins with locations that deliver on the adventurous lifestyle of the demographic that they're targeting. They call it the Rivian Adventure Network. The closest one to me is in Benton Harbor, Michigan, which is a nearby popular hiking and beach location on the eastern shores of Lake Michigan. There's also channels on YouTube devoted to exploring the world's best EV charging stations. Seems like a number of them are in Europe, though. One of my favorites is Out of Spec Reviews.
Look, this is not some wholehearted endorsement of EVs as the righteous path for a sustainable future. Nor am I trying to greenwash a process that isn't quite as environmentally friendly as it seems at the first glance. Those are all valid issues.
What I'm trying to argue for is an attentiveness to our transportation infrastructure. Single-purpose infrastructure sucks, even if it is efficient. It's the same kind of thinking that gave us awful places like highway underpasses or vast power plant wastelands. Modern solutions for these situations turn underpasses into parks or museums, and power plants into ski slopes. Single-purpose, inhuman infrastructure is a byproduct of the 19th century thinking, and it isn't appropriate today.
I want to make sure that we've learned our lesson, that infrastructure like EV charging stations are better when paired with simultaneous considerations around the spatial, the social, and environmental impacts of our surroundings. While it seems like solely an engineering issue to solve, design plays a crucial role in the overall success of integrating new things like this into the fabric of our lives and the built environment at large.
This video is sponsored by Trade Coffee, and I just received my bag of Sparrow's Coffee Hi-Fi Blend. It was roasted in my home state of Michigan, and let me tell you, it is delicious. It's exactly the kind of thing that I like, and I received it as part of my new subscription to Trade Coffee. Look, I love coffee, and I actually drink a couple cups per day, but I don't like to think about it that much. I like to try out different brews, but I just don't have the time or the interest to get all fussy about where to order it from or to make it in super time-consuming ways. And that's where Trade Coffee comes in. It's a coffee subscription service with over 55 of the nation's top-rated independent roasters, offering more than 450 unique roasts. And they do all the hard work so you can just enjoy the coffee. When you pop on their website, they make it super easy. You just answer a couple questions about what you like, and they take care of the rest. The reward to effort ratio is off the charts, and they only use sustainably sourced coffee delivered fresh, and you're still supporting local businesses. Every bag is roasted fresh on demand and delivered on schedule. So upgrade your morning routine with better coffee. Right now, Trade Coffee is offering our viewers a free bag of coffee with any subscription at drinktrade.com/StewartHicks. That's drinktrade.com/StewartHicks for a free bag of coffee with any subscription purchase. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. What are your thoughts on EV charging station designs? Leave them down in the comment section below. While you're there, check out some of these other videos while you wait for the next one to come out in 2 weeks. See you over there.